Hello everybody. I want to show you something today. This is a wasp trap. Basically, it's a tube in which there is a sexual or other attractant put here. Wasps then fly in through the bottom, here, and then they can't get out, and then they die. It's fairly grotesque. All these little creatures, victims of their own biology. I feel somewhat guilty about using it, but I'm in my backyard right now. Oh, by the way, I'm Michael J. Tucker. I'm the editor-in-chief at Belfort&Bastion. And today I'm talking about, I'm sitting in my backyard, which I've just finished mowing. That's why I look a little raggy and baggy. I'm sitting here wearing my H1N1 t-shirt, which was a t-shirt I got as part of a larger effort to try to control the H1N1 virus, which is one hell of a bad flu. And this trap, which I've just shown you in all its goriness, is useful in that it keeps down the number of wasps in the yard. Like I say, I feel somewhat guilty using it, but the alternative, I'm afraid, would be we would not be able to use our yard at all. But why I'm mentioning the wasp is that I also want to talk to you today about the book Prometheans by Anastasia Leach. It's still for free, or will be free through, I guess it's, let me check the dates here. Yes, it will be free through October 27th, 2014. That's Monday. It's a fun, good collection of books. I already wrote a collection of short stories. I've already talked a little bit about it in a couple of previous videos. I wanted to do this last one, to remind you that it can be got for free. And then after that, the price is really quite simple, quite reasonable. It's a biopunk collection. What's biopunk, you ask? Well, if cyberpunk, which was a genre which developed in the 80s or thereabouts, although in some ways it could be dated back all the way to the 70s or beyond, it combines a grim, slightly dystopian future with computer technology and amoral everyman heroes. That biopunk, at least as Anastasia Leach does it, and as some of her contemporaries do as well, combine those similar sensibility, but they look instead at the biological rather than the cybernetic technologies and their effect on the development of future civilization. Well, I can almost hear you. I mean, those of you who are intrigued by such things have already probably downloaded it or will download it shortly. Those who are unfamiliar, as I was unfamiliar with the genre, may sort of bat your eyes and say, I'm not quite sure what this is all about, and then go do a bit of research. Unfortunately, there are those of you who, as I was at first, will be totally mystified and not sure whether we like it or not, and the only way to find out is to go, as you say, read it. There will, of course, however, be a small number of individuals whose reaction will be very different. A certain class of academic, a certain class of intellectual, a certain class of reader, who I personally regard as a total waste of human life, who will reject the idea in toto, say that it's hardly worth thinking about. And the argument that I usually hear at this point is that such new genres have no historical validity. There's nothing, there's no history to them. There is no presence in the longer term record of literature. But before you make that judgment, before anybody makes that judgment, let me remind you about a certain date, 1931. That was the year that Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World. You will, of course, remember the story. It is set in a future in which the human race has discovered that ordinary biological reproduction is simply sociologically impossible. So instead, people are created in artificial wombs, and society is the ultimate in a sort of benevolent consumer authoritarian totalitarianism. To sort of reminiscent of the line at the end of Network, every boredom is amused, every anxiety is tranquilized. That book was published, 80 years ago now? was first saw the light of day as is in 1932. Well, I would submit to you that that book, which we would almost all of us recognize as a genuinely great work, the book that will last, will outlast us certainly, perhaps will outlast the English language, that book, ancient as it is, nearly a century old now, it has a certain biopunk sensibility. No, it doesn't have the same feeling, the same immoral characters, the same decay, the same giant corporations, but it does have that realization that people are subject to biological manipulation, that they are, dare I use somewhat of a excessive excessive metaphor, they are trapped by their own biology. Well, I know that Anastasia Leach, who's a talented writer, I know that she, however, would be offended if I, or at least embarrassed, if I compared her to um, Huxley. But I would like you to think a little bit about the possibility that maybe there's more to the biopunk mentality, mythos, if you will, genre, than meets the eye. That maybe it is very old indeed and should be taken very, very seriously. Well, I'll leave it at that. I will put the link to Anastasia Leach's book at the end in the comment section after this video. Sorry, this one wasn't as my usual goofy sort of thing, but I do sometimes feel that there is some seriousness that has to be adjusted to these issues, particularly when I look at things like this. Well, on that note, I'll let you go. As I say, the book will be free through the 27th, and then after that, watch for our Halloween special. We'll be having a very spooky collection of stories available from Robert Faulkner. It too will be free for about 5 days. So tune in later, and I will talk to you later. Once again, Michael J. Tucker here at Belfort and Bastion. I look forward to seeing you again soon.